Hi, I'm Serotonin, and this is my Festergut 25-man walkthrough. For this boss, you'll need 2 tanks of any type. We personally use a Protection Warrior and a Protection Paladin. And then you'll need 6 to 7 healers, maybe 5, and then a mix of range and melee DPS. Alright, positioning for this fight is extremely easy. The tanks are never going to move once you do position him in the middle of the room. Melee is going to be right where they usually are, right up on his butt, and then ranged are going to be spread out at least 10 yards away from each other. And there's a reason for this, and I'll go over that in just a little bit. As far as his abilities go, the first one is called Gaseous Blight. It does shadow damage to the entire raid every 2 seconds. For 0 inhales, it's 4.5, 1 inhales, it's 3, so the more inhales he gets, the less damage that the raid takes. Now healers, make certain that at the very start of the fight, this is just like the Twin Valkyrs, you have to make certain to heal everybody at the very beginning of it, otherwise people are going to die. Alright, his next ability is the one that you are trying to reduce the damage as much as possible. It's called Pungent Blight. It's 20 seconds after he does his 3rd Gaseous Blight and will do 50k damage to anyone who does not have the inoculation. However, Pungent Blight can be negated by Blighted Spores. It will target 3 random people, could be all in the ranged, all in the melee. You need to make certain that you spread out. You don't want to stack on top of each other with the spores, otherwise you'll kill yourselves. It does 2k shadow damage to the person it's on, and it will give you this lovely, lovely debuff, Inoculated. It lasts for 2 minutes, it stacks to 3, so it's a 75% damage reduction, and everyone has to get this, including the tanks. The tanks especially need this. When the people are targeted with the spores, make certain that one of you goes like underneath Festergut's legs. He doesn't cleave, so you don't have to worry about that, and the tanks need to get this. And make certain if you see a spore, everyone cluster underneath it to get that debuff. The next ability is Vile Gas. This will target, I think, 2 people in 25-man. It has an 8-yard radius, so don't be within 8 yards of each other. It will cause the person to vomit uncontrollably for 6 seconds, and you take 5k shadow damage every 2 seconds. This will only ever hit the range, so make certain that you spread out and are away from people, because you will get it if you're too close to somebody. His next ability is Gastric Bloat. It has a 1.4 minute duration and it stacks 10. He casts it every 10 seconds, and this will only hit the tanks. It does 15k damage every application, and it will increase the tank's damage by 10%. However, you never ever let it stack to 10 or you will wipe the raid. Once a tank reach 9 stacks, immediately have the other tank taunt off of you, and make certain that you take off all of your aggro abilities. Make certain you get out of Frost Presence, out of Defensive Stand, everything. Drop your aggro, otherwise you could very, very easily get him back from the other tank, which will wipe the raid. And his last ability is Inhaled Blight. It stacks 3 times, and each time he gets a stack, it increases his damage dealt by 30% per stack. When he gets this, especially the 3rd stack, make certain tanks use your CDs, healers use your CDs, because the tank will take massive amounts of damage. And just for reference, this is how your raid will look once the spores are out. Everyone will get underneath one of those 3. One of the 3 does need to stay in melee range closer to the tanks, that way they get the inoculation as well. Alright, now to see the fight in action. If you'll notice, we're just running up. The tanks have positioned him in the middle of the room. If you'll notice, I had to blink all the way across to the other side of the room because there were too many people over where I was. And someone else got the vomit thing, so yeah, that's the reason why you have to spread out. And if you'll notice, we're now grouping up underneath the spores. And if you'll notice, in just a second, I should be getting the inoculation. There we go, inoculation debuff. And then you get away from everybody else, so that way you don't spread around the vomit debuff. And that's basically the fight. I mean, this really and truly is a DPS check. You need to do, I think everyone needs to do at least 7.5k DPS DPS on this fight. And unfortunately tonight was really, really laggy for us, so I did horribly. But you'll notice the lag later on. We couldn't even get to Blood Queen. We couldn't even try her because the lag was too intense in that fight. It's too close on a good night, so yeah, any lag, not gonna get it. But yeah, there's really and truly not too much more to say about this. Just range, make certain that you spread out, get away from each other, and because you don't want to spread out the vile gas. Watch for tank. Watch the tanks. Their health will spike once he gets that third debuff. And also, towards the end of this fight, if you notice he's at like 1 million health, you don't necessarily have to get the inoculation, especially if you're on like the second one, and you still have one to go before he does his big gas explosion. Don't worry about it. At the end of this video, I noticed that he's too low and it's going to be a DPS loss if I stop and get the inoculation. So yeah, there's that, and just enjoy the rest of the video with the with Vent playing. Unfortunately, we weren't very talkative tonight. It was a weird night, so it's not quite that interesting, but you can kind of see what he says and the environment. So just good luck, and I'll see you at Rot Base.
Yeah, bad.
Get closer to the tank.
Need a little bit more, guys, and gonna get it.
Be right underneath him.
This guy turning around all the time really chafes my style. Square move out.
Got Festergut.
Hey.